Riz takes a crazy Sunday walk and the return of the salmon jacket. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here bringing you baseball along with the dog, Jeff Healy. Joe Rizzo also producing tonight, which is why that didn't sound so great at the start. But this is going to be a good one. This is a podcast about baseball and about life. And tonight, this one's going to be more about life. And even the dog, I think, is kind of excited for this one. It's not bad. It's nothing bad. Like, I'm not going to make some bad announcement or something like that. It's nothing like that. It's going to be good, but it's going to be a reflective episode. And at some point, we'll start probably talking about, sticky baseballs and, middle infielders and whatever else is going on and crazy spin rates. But for now, let's get you a little up to date. If you've never checked it out, as I said, it's a podcast about baseball and about life. A lot of times we talk about life. This is going to be one of those times. My name's Joe Rizzo. Jeff the Dog Healy, if you're watching, is the other gentleman on the screen. And we do things like Veteran of the Day, which we'll get to in mere moments, and Die Hard Dads. This is going to be an episode that's kind of almost like our whole segment of Die Hard Dads. More on that in a minute. And we are all over social media as Diamond Diehards, at Diamond Diehards. That's iTunes and podcast apps everywhere. We're everywhere at Diamond Diehards. You search for Diamond Diehards, you're going to find us. iTunes, Spotify, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and of course, Facebook. We're probably most of the live streamers will be watching us on Facebook, I would say. And had a great meeting before with a couple of new people who are going to help us with social media. They're related. One's a Rizzo, one's a Healy. The Healy one's going to be leading the charge there. So look for good stuff. We're going to be pushing the TikTok thing, I think, pretty soon. Let's get some business out of the way. FMS Graphics is a family-run, family-owned business. For over 50 years, they've served your printing and promotional needs. FMSgraphics.com. FMSgraphics.com. Visit them for all your printing and promotional needs. Also, SportsMapz are a great way to share support for your team with a cool piece of art for your home or office. Check them out at SportsMapz.com. That's SportsMapz with a Z, SportsMapz.com. Really good stuff. In fact, Dawg and I had checked out a bunch of their stuff during a previous episode, and we were very, very, very excited about that. Another thing I get excited about for every show is when my buddy, my co-host, my compadre, Jeff Healy, jumps in with Veteran of the Day. Dawg, welcome.
All right, Riz, good one here. We have today, so 77 years ago today, the U.S. Armies were fighting off the beaches in Normandy. And this Veteran of the Day is Technical Sergeant Frank D. Peregory. He was with the 29th Infantry Division from Charlottesville, Virginia. He was serving the 29th as part of the Virginia Army National Guard that got mobilized as one of the two divisions of the U.S. Army, along with the 1st ID that hit the beaches in Normandy. And Technical Sergeant Frank Peregory helped lead the liberation of the town of Grandcampe, France on this day. So his unit, the 116th Infantry Regiment, was battling up there. They ran into a bunch of machine guns way on top of a hill. They tried to blast it with artillery. They couldn't do it. The tanks pulled up. They couldn't do it. So the 29-year-old went out and crawled up under heavy machine gun fire, crawled 200 yards uphill, took out the machine guns, and single-handedly captured or killed 50 enemy soldiers by himself. So tanks couldn't do it. Artillery couldn't do it. The 29-year-old from Charlottesville, Virginia, he did. For that, he wound up receiving the Medal of Honor and a great example of courage under fire, literally, for all of us to follow today. So Technical Sergeant Frank D. Peregory from Charlottesville, Virginia, 29th Infantry Division, Virginia Army National Guard, our veteran of the day.
They just don't make them like that anymore,
Nope.
do they, Dawg?
No, they don't.
All right, Dawg. That was very nice. You always do a great job with veteran of the day.
I'm thinking Frank would have been like a second baseman too. Like, looking at this picture, like I think this guy played second baseman in high school, but
scrappy.
Here, exactly, totally scrappy.
Yeah. So this is going to be a little different show. We're not going to talk so much about balls and strikes. We're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about my Sunday, Dawg. And you know what I'm going to do right now, Dawg? You know what I'm going to do?
Oh boy.
Over here.
I'll be honest, I'm very fired up about this whole situation.
See that, Dawg?
Oh boy.
If you're just listening.
Wearing the official.
If you're just listening and you can't see this, well, first of all, I'd hope that you join our Facebook group and go check out our YouTube. And let me get this all straight. But right now, Dawg, I have donned the salmon jacket, the infamous or famous salmon jacket. I've buttoned both buttons. I'm going to tell you a little story, Dawg. So this was my Sunday. This is going to be a long one. And you could, hopefully interject and make it nice at some point. But it's going to be a lot of me. It's going to be a little Rizzo ego here on this one. All right. So this was my Sunday, Dawg. I woke up in Massachusetts and I did my other. So this is the Die Hard Dad part of it. Die Hard Dad's part. So for Luisa Rizzo's hockey team during the regular season and during now the spring season, I've been afforded the wonderful opportunity of live streaming their games. Now, instead of just live streaming the games, I got to do play-by-play. Like I can't not do play-by-play for the game. I'm here.
The mic. Let's go.
And so here we go. So it's been an absolutely tremendously rewarding experience. I believe that I've probably talked about it a few times here on the show. I do a little cross promotion and those videos actually, like at the moment, at least they get more hits than our videos. So thanks to the Rockets and the RSG Selects families and even the opponents' families who often find the link and tune in as well. A lot of good sports, but it's been such a rewarding experience for me. And they, the families and, have become friends and, they got me a mask. They got me a shirt. They got me a mug. They got me a karaoke. I mean, it's really just like, and not just that, they've poured out the love to me. So it's great. I really love it. I enjoy doing it. And that was my weekend, which culminated Sunday. And Luis's team was playing in the semifinal game of this tournament. And they were overmatched by a very, very good team. So we had their game in the morning and then jumped in the car and drove, took the 3-hour drive a little bit, probably maybe 3:20, something like that. Little traffic here and there. But she's a good traveler, didn't have to make any stops. And, we got home 2:30, 3 o'clock, something like that. So we're kind of not really laying around, unpacked. She didn't have to crash, but that Deb and the kids, the boys weren't home at the moment and they were still out for a couple of hours. So Luisa and I, we got something to eat and we just, parted ways to do our separate things there within the house. And, at some point I'm thinking, oh boy, I have this streak where now, like, I'm not going to claim to be like Mr. Religious guy. And I'm not going to make this about religion or anything like that, because whatever you do or believe or don't believe is cool. I'm good with everybody. But, if people listen, they know that we went to Fordham, which probably makes us Catholic, which both of us are. And some of us are better Catholics than others, so to speak. And, I've had long bouts where I haven't been like the best churchgoer. However, since the kids had their confirmation in, I think it was early March, I've been on a streak. I'm all about the streaks. So I've made it to church every weekend. So I'm thinking, oh boy, like I gotta make it to church today. There's a 6:15 mass. Let me make sure I get that. Of course, then I'm doing 5 other things, and Deb sends me, a message. Oh, I'm going to be leaving soon from the house. So, I told her I wanted to go for a walk, get in a walk, because I hadn't done much, over the weekend, except for, exercising my voice during the play-by-play, and, making sure all the other parents were comfortable that they weren't drinking alone, which is which is another good thing that I do. So, Dawg, I'm trying to figure out, it's about 5 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I can get my walk in, and then maybe, schnork my way over to 6:15 mass, and I'm good to go. Right. And now I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? Debbie messages me, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll just wait for her to come home. And now, like, I've muddled my time clock. And then she texts me back a little while later. She's like, oh, the plan got messed up. I'm still going to be here. So you could just go walk yourself. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And then, so I put my AirPods in, and I had already listened to the last episode, re-listened to the last episode of Diamond Die Hard. So I didn't have that on, but I had something else on. And I'm like, all right, we're going to go zip out of here for, I'm going at least 5 miles, at least, an hour plus. And then we'll see where the day takes us. It was a hot day. I love walking in the heat. So have I put anybody to sleep yet, Dawg, or are you riveted?
I'm trying to figure out, because I see where the potential trick is you're trying to get the distance in there. You're trying to meet the time, but you can't get too sweated up that you can't go straight to mass.
Right.
So I'm wondering how you got those 3 variables, 1 equation. How does Riz solve it?
I get to the end of my block, which is, I don't know, almost maybe a half mile, something like that. And I'm going to like leave the neighborhood. I have a great neighborhood to walk in, but the problem is, like, I do the circle loops like too quickly. Like, I kind of get a little bored with it. And if I leave the neighborhood, I end up going for a nice long walk, which is good. So that was my objective. I get to the end of my street and I realize, oh, what? I like totally just forgot about mass. Now there's like because it was like 6 o'clock, something, whatever. I'm like, now I'm into the walk. Like, I just blew the mass mission. I'm like, the streak's over. That's it. And I got to just deal with that. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to enjoy nature. And that's the way I'm going to take in God. So I start walking. I'm locked in. I got my podcast on, whatever I'm listening to. And I'm more of a podcast guy, like the spoken word guy than a music guy. Every now and then I'll do the music, but most of the time I'm listening to some kind of show or whatever. So yeah, I'm like, this is what it's going to be. And I start off with a nice big hill, get the heart rate up, get moving, get the body churning, and probably like a mile and change, probably a couple miles in. And Deb calls me, and we're having a discussion on the phone about like whatever's happening with the plan. And she's, she's over here, and her brother's there, and her nephew, whatever it is, right? Not important. But as I'm on the phone with her, and I'm walking on a main road, but it's still residential, there's a lady, and she's wearing a house coat. Now, our younger people maybe don't know what a house coat is. That's taking it back
right there.
Yeah. So like a house coat is like the equivalent to somebody kind of wearing a bathrobe, but like it's tough
to describe.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to describe. It's like something that you'd wear in the house when nobody's around except people who are related to you. And like, you might do cooking and cleaning or chores, or you might sleep in it. You might not, whatever. So she's wearing a house coat, and she's, I don't have the age pegged, but I'm going early 60s, whatever this woman is. All right. And I'm on the phone with Deb, and this woman, like, she's like walking, she's now maybe 10, 20 feet in front of me, and she's crossing the sidewalk with like, she's carrying something from the side of her house to the curb for like garbage day. So I go to Deb, I go, hang on. Or I go to the lady, I go, hey, you look like you need a hand. You need a hand? She goes, oh, that would be so wonderful if you could help me out. Really, like you don't mind. I said, no, I don't mind, Deb. I said, just, but I have my AirPods in. I'm on the phone. Let me just hang up. So I go, Deb, like I'll hang up. I'll tell you the story later. So now, my new friend Marge is has like
I'll take the over on 60, by the way, with Marge, but okay.
No, but that was what the weird thing was. Like she had the house coat on.
Marge and a house coat on 60.
But
Okay.
a dog, I'm telling you, she could have even been I'm looking at her. I'm like, she actually kind of looks like she's more like our age, like 50 something, but like the house, then you throw the house coat in there and it makes her look like she's throwing 10, 20 years on just for the house coat. But I'm looking at her, I'm like, either she's like a really good, looking like 70 against the years, or she's like somewhere in the 60s, or she's like 50s with the house coat making her look 60 something. So I don't even
She's
have
changing speeds all over the place.
Yeah, she's up and down. I mean,
Okay.
she's I can't tell if she's Williams Astudillo throwing me a 46-mile-an-hour fastball, or one of these guys, or Jacob deGrom with the spin rate, or every Dodger with the overpriced spin rate at this point. So now, Dog, I'm into it. I'm committed with Marge here. So going on the side of her house, and it's like an old bed. It's like the bed frame. It's a headboard, and it's the two big sideboards, and it's the bed rails and everything. And some of it's like caked in dirt. It's been there for a while. It doesn't really smell so great over there, but like all right, I'm doing this lady a solid right here. It's pretty good. She helps me carry out like the big headboard.
There's no blood stains or anything, right?
No. I mean, it was even if there were, this bed has been sitting out there in the side of her house for like a long time. Like,
gotcha.
Like probably like maybe years. And
so it wasn't evidence, probably.
No, I don't.
That's good,
because it was coming from the side of the house. It wasn't coming from inside the house. If it was inside the house, I might have used discretion as a better part of valor. So it's like a little 5-minute job, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'll just chalk it up to the, it's like having a workout within the walk, right?
Yeah. You're doing a good turn.
Yeah, I'm lifting the thing over my head a little bit when I'm carrying it out. It's good. It's all good. And now I feel really good about myself, because I'm like, I just did this lady a solid, and there was no introduction before that. She goes, oh, I'm Marge, and I'm so glad that you showed up. And I said, my mom has said that to me a long time ago. So I got a little laugh out of her for that. And I said, my name's Joe. Have you ever heard of Diamond Diehards? Did not say that. I did not say that.
That would have been awesome.
It would have been. It would have been awesome. Okay. Now, like a good storyteller, almost like a movie screenwriter person, Dog, I'm going to take a little license, and I'm going to interrupt this story to do a flashback and tell you a different part of another story, and then get back into the walk. So now we've just...
This is like having a conversation with the missus right now, but okay.
Okay.
I have no idea where it's going.
You're still married, and you're still
just trying to follow along. Yeah, exactly. This works. Okay.
Still paying the bills.
Still working.
Okay. So okay, now we're done with March, and I've turned my podcast back on, and I'm going to go walking for more. However, okay, now I'm going to tell you a different story. Okay. This is a story about one of my fellow hockey parents, my friend Paul. And a few months back, we were in Danbury, Connecticut for a practice.
You're by the old stomping ground.
By your old stomping grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. We're in Danbury, and my friend Paul parks in an area that says, don't park here, you're going to get towed. Long story short, Paul got towed. Okay. Other long story short, Paul's looking around for the Italian guy because Paul doesn't have cash on him. And of course he looks to the Italian guy because he needs like $200 in cash. So they always look to the Italian guy first. Why people think Italian guys just walk around with a lot of cash, I don't know. So anyway, I gave Paul the cash. I gave him the cash. I'm like,
funny enough.
So oddly enough, I had it. So, and then he, one of the other parents gave him a ride over to the impound lot and he got his van, and he drove home, and we lived happily ever after, thanks to Venmo. So during the weekend, Danbury was on the path that Paul took back. Now, Paul is a phenomenal storyteller, and I did consider having him on here to tell a little bit of his part of the story, but I figured it's just, I got the salmon jacket. It's a little bit about my ego, so I'll just do it. And he'll get to listen to it on a road trip, and he'll love it, hopefully. So on the Saturday night of our tournament this past weekend, Paul starts telling the story about how he's driving through Danbury, and he was starting to, or hoping to, extract some of his revenge on the city of Danbury for, screwing him over with the towing thing. But it was all in good fun and all a good joke. And I made my little joke about being the Italian guy and the $200, and it was funny, and we were laughing, and everything was great. Now, what does it mean to this story? Well, we're getting there, Dawg. We are getting there. There. On the way home, we are driving through. Now, on the way up, we didn't drive through Danbury, but on the way home, we did. So as I see the sign for Danbury, I ask SIRI to text Paul. And I make up a fake story to Paul in my text, and I say, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe it. I'm in a pizza place in Danbury, and I just walked out and I found $100 on the floor," meaning like I was getting his money from Danbury. And so we joked around with a couple of texts, and we had a little laugh and whatever. Okay. All right. Back to the walk. Now you got that. You got that part. Right?
Okay.
It was a lie. I just completely made it up. I haven't found money on the ground in I don't know how long. So now I'm back on my walk. And now I'm going to say which podcast it was that I was listening to. And I was listening to Black Diamonds, which is it's a Sirius XM podcast, but it's Bob Kendrick, who's the president of the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City. And Bob was the manager of the Royals team in our Stratomatic Elite Experts Media League. So this podcast is great. We're baseball history guys, and the history of the Negro League guys is tremendous because it's, a lot of it, either if it's been told, a lot of us haven't heard it, or we've heard some stuff, and Bob's just a great storyteller and he has great guests or whatever. I'm totally locked in, right? Every time I'm listening to it, I'm texting my friend Dwayne, who's actually on, I think right now. And he's like, "Oh, thank you for telling me about this podcast. It's really good." And I was backlogged a few episodes. So I'm on the Satchel Paige episode, which is great because now I'm talking about baseball on our show. And it's another Diamond podcast, unrelated, but, sort of related. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so riveted by the Satchel Paige episode and all the stories he's telling. And I'm just so locked into my walk, and I'm just loving it. And I get to the point where the episode ends, and I'm an hour and 10, 15, something like that in there. And I just need to make a left and go up a little hill. And I'd be home in 7-8 minutes, something like that. Well, before I could kind of do that, the next episode just automatically starts playing. And it's about the Cubans and in the Negro Leagues and stuff like that. And I'm like, "Oh, damn it. I'm freaking riveted to this one. Now I'm just going to, I'm just going to keep walking. I'm just going to blow right past it. And this is going to be a 10 miler today because I still got a little daylight left." So now I'm walking still again on a main road. And, I'm quite far into the walk at this point. I'm probably closing in on an hour 45, something like that. And I'm on a different main road, but similar circumstances. It's a main road, but it's residential. This is a 100% true story. This is not me making anything up.
You're not rizzing me.
I am not rizzing you, nor our listeners, nor our supporters. This happened, Dawg. I am walking and I look in front of me. There is a $20 bill on the sidewalk right in front of me. Okay.
Main road, out of nowhere.
Main road. I'm looking around for the cameras. My friend Paul is in law enforcement. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go further than that. I'm looking around for the cameras for that. I'm looking for the fishing line attached to the 20 before I bend down to pick it up. I'm looking around for the impractical jokers. I'm looking around for everybody before I bend down to pick this up. And I'm just, so finally, like, I pick it up and I'm like, all right, well, now I'm looking around for John Quinones from What Would You Do? I'm looking for him to pop out because I'm in that mode right now where it's, what would you do? You just found $20. It's at the end of somebody's driveway, but it's on a sidewalk. So do you put it in your pocket and go about your day? Well, guess what? I take another step. I look down to my left. There's another 20. I'm saying out loud now, mumbling, but saying it out loud. I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on? I picked that one up. I turned to the right. There's another 20 on the ground. Now I'm really looking around for the cameras, and I know there's no fishing line attached to it. I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm like at the bottom of the driveway. I'm like looking over here, there. The main road is right attached to us. So I just take the 320s. I'm like, I guess these people like must have just, as they were walking out, maybe like it fell out of their pocket or something. I'll just go put it on their stoop and move along. So I take the 20s, $60, plop it on the stoop, walk the 10 feet back down the driveway. I'm going to keep listening to my Bob Kendrick Black Diamonds podcast, right? Now there is another set of 20s. There's like $60 here. I look over here. There's 4 more 20s. I'm like, what? And then I look forward a little bit and I see along the curb. I'm like, wait, that looks like a bank card. That looks like a business card. That looks like, what is that? And there's more money. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody must have just gotten their wallet stolen, and maybe they were trying to see that, the cops were chasing them. So they kept something and they just threw a bunch of stuff out the window. But then I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. Cause like, if you stole somebody's wallet, like, and you wanted to get away with something, like you keep the
thing. Yeah. They just throw the ground.
You throw the other shit out. Like you're like, all right.
Get the cards.
So now there's a guy that was walking and he was a quarter mile behind me. So I had like noticed him when I was walking. He came from like a different way, but he was walking eventually in the same path on this main road. So I had noticed him at one point, but like, now he's like basically caught up to me, but I see all this stuff littered on the ground. And now I see a driver's license. I'm like, oh boy. Okay. So we have the money and we have the driver's license. So this person's going to be getting back their money. That much we could figure out. I go back up to the stoop. I grab the other $60 and I just start picking up everything that's there along the side of the road, making sure that I don't get hit by a car. And I immediately call the police department in my town, even though it's right on the border of my town and the next town where I am. And the other gentleman, who's a little bit younger than me, a lot younger, he starts picking up whatever else he sees, a few things. And I go, yeah, I just found all this stuff. It looks like it was in somebody's wallet and it's just everywhere. And there's like a lot of cash. Like I look like a drug dealer holding this cash here. Right. So Dawg, you can't make this up. Okay. I'm a mile plus away from my house. So I'm close, but I'm far because I'm on a main road. And this guy I show him and he looks at the license. He goes, I know this person. This is really random, but I know this person. I'm like, wait. And I was like kind of on the phone with the cops saying, I got this and this
Call
is my
this guy.
name.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Send the cop over so I could just, because now it's like a hot potato. Like I don't even want to touch this stuff, right? And he's like, so as I'm talking to the cops, he starts making a few calls. He goes, she used to live next door to me. I'm like, but now she lives in another town. She's 5, 6, 8 miles away. So he starts making some calls while I'm still on the phone, working the phones with the cops. He makes a couple of calls, and I'm now off the phone with the cops, and I hear him go, "Hey, it's David, and I think you might have lost your wallet." And now I have to paraphrase because I couldn't hear what was being said on the other side. And she's like, "Oh, really? Are you sure about that? Like, this is random that you'd even call me." He goes, "Yeah, because I'm here and I have your license, and I just happen to see it." A cop now shows up from the other town. I flag him down. He comes over. He pulls over, telling him the story because now the one police department that I told the story to, the other town's cop comes and, they're not talking to each other about it. Get him up to date on the story, give him the name, whatever. And the other guy that was walking, he's like, "Oh, what's your address?" I tell him. And he goes, "Oh, I'm like 5 houses down from you, but on the other side." And she used to live next to me on the other side of the road, but they moved a few years ago. And he's like, "I'm only here." He goes, I'm third year medical school, and I just happened to come home this weekend to take care of the dogs." And he was walking to Dairy Queen, which by the way is like 2 miles away. So good for him. And so he just happens to see. So I'm just dumbfounded. So now, remember, this is the same walk that I've helped Marge on. Well, I'm missing church. So now I saw something in the road prior to this, like it was a little further up the road where I hadn't been yet. And I thought it was like a piece of like a black piece of like a bumper, road debris that had fallen off. And we're both, David and I and the policeman were all kind of surprised that we see the contents of this wallet, but no wallet. So me and him start walking up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, look at that. There's the wallet. It's a nice, big, huge wallet. Somehow nobody had run the thing over, and I guess it had more stuff in it." Hand that to the cop. They get in touch with the lady, or she, he tells her to go down to the police station and is going to go get stuff, from the cop, who'll drop it off. They'll make their thing over there, whatever. And it turns out that she has a Jeep, and she had ordered Chinese food, and the Chinese food wasn't ready yet. So because it was a nice day, she was sitting on the hood of her Jeep, and the food was ready, and she went in to grab it. And when she came out, she left her wallet on the bumper. Drove about another mile. Eventually it flies off and stuff comes out of it. And because I'm listening to another episode of Black Diamonds, I happen to see it and pick the stuff up. How about that? Then David is continuing on to Dairy Queen. I say now, I'm like, now I've spent 45 minutes sorting this thing. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to turn around and walk back this way, and I'll look on the ground and see if I see any more stuff. $40, a Cigna card, and a business card. What am I going to do now? Like, now I got to try to get, like, how am I going to do this? I happen to be
back
talking
to the other town.
Already was talking to Deb because I was going to start telling her this story. I'm like, I got a story for you, but I need that police department's number. Can you just look it up and send it to me so I can press a button? Talk to the cops. I give her my address. I'm like, just send her down. They're like, "Oh, could you drop it off at the police station?" I'm like, "No, I'm still walking. Like, just send her to my house, because by the time she gets to my house, I'll be home." So they wait to see if it's her. She was pulling out. They ran outside, flagged her down, gave her my address. She pulls up to my house. They lived in the same neighborhood for up until I think 2015 or something like that. And they moved. So they were here, but for some reason we didn't know. We don't know a lot of people in the neighborhood. We've been here for like 11 years. So we overlapped for like 5 years. They live in a totally different town now. And I just happen to stumble upon that and make this happen. And then, gave her the rest of the money and we had a little laugh and everybody went on their merry way. So Dawg, what's the point of the story? That's it. That's the whole story. But it's like, it's like I'm making this up. Like I'm making a joke to Paul about like finding $100 on the ground. And then I find like 300. Like, I mean, and then, I'm missing church and, I'm helping Marge. And then, like we're doing this stuff. So Dawg, when we talk about this as a podcast about baseball and about life, this is life, right? Like this is the stuff that happens in life and it's about the journey. And in this case, it literally was the journey. The journey was an actual walk. It was it was sort of a pointless walk, right? Like, because I'm not going somewhere in particular to stay there. I'm just walking around for a while until I get home.
The journey was the destination.
The journey was the destination. And what does that have to do with baseball? I was listening to the Black Diamond podcast. So to me, it counts as baseball, Dawg.
There you go.
I'm giving myself credit for that.
You know what? That's basically that's your get a church free card right there, right? You were all in there. You were out there, and you did two good deeds for your fellow neighbors out there.
If I had gone to church, Marge would be in the hospital with a slip disc.
Yep.
And the other lady would be out of a wallet because somebody, that guy maybe would have picked it up and figured it all out too, but maybe not. Maybe somebody else would have popped out and saw it and just said, oh, I'll take the cash. And like,
a little cheddar.
Just keep leaving it here. I mean, listen, that was a John Quinones, what would I do amount of cash that was laying there. That wasn't like, a 10 you found on the floor of the bagel store.
Yeah.
That wasn't a $5 bill that, you found outside of Starbucks and you're like, well, I could either pocket it or I could go throw it in the tip jar. I could do whatever. Nobody's going to know the difference. So, 5 minutes, what's $5? What is, somebody, they'll miss it. But, this was like, for some people, that's like a life-changing amount of money, right? Like, I mean, you could pay some bills with the amount of cash that was rolling, just sitting there on the road. But it was, that part, was not much of a decision. If it was just a 20 and I didn't know what else to do with it, I don't know what I would have done because like, well, does it belong to this person? How do I know? Like I ring somebody's bell. I don't know who, what do you do with it? But that dilemma ended, as soon as it started. But Dawg, we tell stories on this podcast a lot of times. And, we've told some great stories. We've told Missy Coombs' story. We've told young Lillian Martineau's story. You've told a lot of stories about, veterans long past, right? Like even back from the 1700s. We've told some of the stories of those Negro Leaguers, right? Like during, I think we really highlight a lot of the stuff during, maybe Black History Month, but not just then, right? Like we've told a lot of those stories in and out of those times. So this one, I felt it was pretty important to me to share that, and if I had gone to church, none of that stuff would have happened. So maybe it was just meant to be. And that, Dawg, is a Salmon Jacket special.
A new feature on Diamond Diehards.
Well, I don't know.
Very, very nice.
I don't know if we could feature that. I also got a haircut for this episode.
I did too.
And I
tightened up the lid.
And I combed my hair.
There you go. I was waiting for you to say that the young lady was like Marge's like daughter or like niece or something like that.
Wow. You know what? They're probably related.
They probably are. And you're sitting there, the guy knew it a lot. I'm like, if he says the wallet said Marge, I'm like, now I'm gonna drop the mic.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that. I'll ask Marge. I walked by Marge's house on the walk today, so but I didn't see Marge today. but the stuff was still out there on the curb. So I'm like, all right, like, maybe she thought like Monday was garbage day, but it's really
bulk
like
pickup day in July.
Yeah, maybe. Whatever. As long as it gets out there,
There you go.
we're all good.
Very good. That's
Yeah,
very
so
awesome.
I don't know
That's
how much.
two good turns daily right there. That's very solid right
But
there.
yeah, it was just crazy that like I'm making a joke to my friend about finding money on the ground, and then like there's money on the ground. Like, and I'm telling Louisa this story and all the kids at once, and Debbie about what happened after I got back. I'm like, you are not gonna believe this, because now by this time it was like almost 3 hours since I had left the house. Like I was on a pretty long walk. I mean, it only ended up going six miles and change, which, you know, I would have done like a lot more in that time span if I was just going. But you know, I took stock. Like I took stock. I appreciate, you know, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you know, that we've done over these you know, last year and change times. And you know, it was one of those times where I was like, ah, you know what? If that was me and I could use a hand, like, be pretty good to just get a hand, or like, I kind of like it if somebody did that for me. So that's what I did. And you know what, Dog? It has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. Just go out and be a decent human being, and all this other stuff takes care of itself.
There you go. That is 90% of it right there, right? Just being good people, and good people to each other. There you go. And have a good dog, like the diamond dog who's hanging out, who came over she was fascinated by the story, and she came over to listen to the story.
I heard there was a little background noise going on over there. There was like a Healy Brawls 21.
It was it was a little heated. We had to put that on mute. I don't know. There was some I don't know. Our social media director is having some issues. So
That's good. Was she having issues figuring out how old her brother was?
Yeah, this, that, ever, whatever. Couple years off.
I think we have to transition off of that story now. So let me handle this. Now, do we just transition into the regular part of the show, or do we end it? Like, I feel like that kind of was Die Hard Dads, but it really didn't, like, that wasn't really a dad thing, right? But
it was a Die Hard.
It was a Die Hard thing. Yeah, it was a Die Hard thing. But for Die Hard Dads, so we Dawg and I have done the dad thing in trying to garner a support staff for Diamond Die Hard. So there's usually producer Xavier Rizzo, whose duties are being done by his dad for this show, and you know, we'd engaged previously Louisa Rizzo maybe to help with the TikTok stuff, and now we've engaged Katie Healy to help us with the social media stuff, and she's a TikTok aficionado. So that was the little teaser from the beginning. Why I think that we're gonna try to figure out the TikTok thing. Dawg and I are not gonna figure out the TikTok thing.
We got people now.
Yeah, we got people. We got the girls on it. If you need it done right, put it in the hands of the women. So that is what we are doing for the TikTok. And I think that, you know, she's an impressive young lady. She was good. She was, you know, on the Zoom. We did that before. It was like a good solid hour. She gave us a good hour. Yep. Give us a lot of input, some really excellent guidance, and some homework. So
yeah, we'll see what we can get going here. So
will the salmon jacket story make TikTok?
Maybe. She loves fashion. She does have a fashion thing going on there.
Maybe I can make her TikTok.
You could make her TikTok.
Oh my God. I don't think we'll ever be as famous as she, but what is her TikTok? Do you want to give it out? We should give it out. Like, she needs it. us giving out her TikTok is like the funniest thing ever.
I don't think she. Well, she Stevie Chicks is her TikTok line on there. I don't think I think she just is the one. So I think it's just Stevie Chicks. So it's a little play on Stevie Nicks. So Stevie Chicks, and a lot of makeup stuff and fashion, and I guess sort of general opinion and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, she's actually an influencer on TikTok and was doing stuff like the campaigns and all that, presidential campaigns, and she's yeah, she's doing all sorts of stuff. So she's rocking out the media content. So pretty proud of her.
We're raising the
So
bar
we'll
now.
see. So as she was saying, like, is this a job? Is this an internship? I'm like, if you get 1,000 followers, I don't care what you call it. A career, whatever, promotion, fine.
VP, you like VP? Does VP work?
VP of everything.
Yeah, VP of everything.
Omnimedia.
Yeah. Be a
Oh,
consultant. You want to be a consultant? Be a consultant.
yeah, whatever you want.
VP,
Whatever you want.
VP, or VP. Why not?
There you go.
What do I put on my business cards? Whatever, as long as you buy them yourself. That's the deal. You can buy them, you buy them yourself. So
we get you a deal on SportsMapz though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, SportsMapz, you can get the deal. You know what's great, Dawg? I'm doing the thing where I'm monitoring the Facebook group.
I've been wrapped. Normally I actually do that while you're kind of going, but I was wrapped in the whole story with Marge and the wallet and the whole deal. So
that's good. I'm glad. It's doing the like I have to keep it on mute, and it's doing the thing where it does the closed captions.
The words, yeah, there we go.
And it's pretty close. It doesn't know how to spell TikTok like the right way. And
I bet you that's intentional.
Words. It makes me
on Facebook. I bet you they're doing it intentionally.
Yeah, maybe.
Jerks.
Until they buy it. If they buy TikTok,
yeah, exactly.
If they buy TikTok, all of a sudden it's going to be right the next day in their closed captions. Otherwise, like 5 heads will roll. Probably literally and figuratively. Can we say that? Yeah. So that was. I think that's our dual diehard dads. Luisa Rizzo was also on the call, but don't worry, Deb. She did not go on camera, which is big. And yeah,
they both were doing their homework. They both said they had to go and finish up their homework. So Katie and Luisa. So
they did. So
didn't sound like the homework was happening with mine, but we'll see. Let's get a little hot in the background. It didn't sound like they were discussing homework.
I know. Dawg, I don't know. I feel like we should just probably put a bow on this one.
I think so. Yeah, this is all about the walk.
It was
a walk through life and a walk of life. There you go.
I believe you're right.
There you go.
So what do I do now? Give the closing credits here. Follow us where? I gotta turn the other page.
The only thing I prepare is Veteran of the Day, and the rest of this is just totally, it's just reaction TV.
iTunes, I always call it iTunes. People say Apple Podcasts. Yeah, I think everybody gets what that is, right? Spotify, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're speaking of omnipresent. We're there. And FMS Graphics, got to give props to them. FMSgraphics.com, family-owned, family-run business, over 50 years, serving all your printing and promotional needs. FMSgraphics.com, FMSgraphics.com.
We can get Katie her cards. There you go. There's your bonus.
She would be visiting them for all of her printing and promotional needs. Her hours.
Perfect.
SportsMapz, you talked about them. SportsMapz with a Z, MAPZ. Great way to show your support for your team with a cool piece of art for your home or office or your home office. Check them out at sportsmapz.com, SportsMapz.com. So that is going to do it for the walking episode. We did this on purpose. That makes it an intentional walk.
Oh, you were waiting all day for that one, weren't you?
I don't know. That I wasn't, but that just kind of came.
It just came in.
I use that one all the time. So that's going to do it. Follow the dog at Jeff Healy 8 on Twitter. That's the number 8. And I have all the at Diamond Diehard stuff on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. So go check it out. Anywhere on social media that it's at Diamond Diehards, that's us. So go check that out. that is going to wrap it up. This was a Tuesday night, but we didn't do our typical Tuesday night live. I think we threw you a little curveball there. And I thank the Dawg for giving way to me on this one for another Salmon Jacket special. So that's going to do it for the Dawg, Jeff Healy. This is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.